Anybody watching Formula One? Anybody loves Formula One? Yeah. One of the amazing things about data in a constrained, closed-loop, contextual environment is the stuff that Formula One does. Where you have about 1 million data points across 300 sensors that pour across these screens in a pit that make people want to make decisions really, really quickly in order to make sure that their driver, their car, finishes first. But success in Formula One is not just about finishing first. You want to finish first and your driver is still alive, and you want to finish first and hopefully your car is not wrecked. Now, that's what real-time analytics should look like. The amazing thing is you have, 10, 12 teams in Formula One? You have about 20 cars on a grid at any point of time. That amount of data is probably how much my HDB block in Singapore generates on a per minute, per second basis, because it's a dense cluster of units, 1,000 units, 5 blocks, everybody's on 5G, everybody's on fiber. And the question is, are we able to scale this level of performance at a cost point that actually makes sense for the CSP community? You're dealing with hundreds of millions of customers. You're dealing with millions of devices. You're dealing with multiple devices per customer. And you want to be able to support essential services across the entire spectrum, across industries. And the question is, are we able to take that level of data and deliver the analytics in real time according to what the kind of trust that people before me have talked about, or the kind of fidelity that is actually needed on a network that has hundreds of millions of customers, but with the level of trust that is able to be generated through your agentic AI systems and the pipelines that you're developing. For telcos, this is not a data volume problem per se. The problem is that there's a foundational gap between the data that you're actually collecting and the ability to reason that data in real time, the inference gap. It's actually trying to make decisions real time in a time window wherein the amount of data pouring in that window is actually more than what you can reason with. And you have to be able to do reasoning in terms of stitching data together, correlating it, running graph analytics, geospatial analytics, all on the same full resolution data, because you can't drop packets. You can't sample, because sampling means you're going to lose the ability to pick up anomalies, which is really what you're all trying to do when you're dealing with a critical network like a CSP network. And the problem is that analytics gap is your foundation gap, and it comes with a cost. And it comes with a cost if you drop data, and it comes with a cost if you're trying to close it by not having complete visibility on understanding the reasoning behind what you're doing with that data. So the problem is that you're looking at data without analytics. It's going to lead to blind spots. It's going to lead you to slow decisions, lots of AI initiatives where your agent has not understood context. It has not understood everything related, not just to the data, it's the reasoning as well as why that reasoning actually happened. And analytics without context results in storage overload, it results in context-free data, and actually a complexity explosion that is equally difficult to address. And that's what forces all CSPs today, right now, regardless of everything that you've seen on the show, MWC here, you'll probably see it throughout the year, you're going to deal with a cost problem. You're dealing with a price performance issue where you have to deal with the foundation gap. You have to invest in actually handling all of that data. And you have to do it at a pace that keeps up with the data sampling that you're actually doing, with all the data ingest you're doing. And you're supposed to generate real-time analytics that justifies the ROI on what you've put in collecting all of that data and running your agentic pipelines in the first place. You're paying for this twice. This foundation gap, all CSPs today, you will end up paying for it twice. And as a result of that, you're faced with a choice, a very difficult choice. Do I go deep or do I go wide? Do I only look at assurance on my radio? Or do I try to do it across all the services that I'm running on my systems? And I can tell you that the problem is not the technology, the problem is the ROI on what you're going to put in order to develop that technology. So the shift is, therefore, you're not dealing with data as a telemetry problem. You've got sources from probes, you've got signaling streams, you've got OSS, BSS, event logs, CDRs, IPDRs, IPFix, custom telemetry, IoT systems, okay? But just collecting all of this data and trying to randomly correlate them doesn't do anything for you. You've got to understand, what does this data do for you from a services layer? Are you collecting this data again and again and again simply because it acts as a source to multiple elements in your decision tree when you're actually trying to drive a contextual decision-making process within your organization? It could be anything. It could be related to assurance. Could be related to quality of service for video. Could be related to 911. Doesn't matter. The reality is that randomly correlating streams, just because you have it, doesn't move the needle. And you need right answers in order to drive your agentic AI pipeline. It cannot be probable answers. It cannot be, it's the best fit based on the data that I managed to look at and stuff that I've collected, and that's all I have. Whether your foundation can actually turn data into something that agents can actually trust and act upon is what separates the CSPs here from those that are actually ready for autonomous networks beyond level 2.x, which is where you're at, and from those who are going to be stuck in that loop, constantly trying to innovate within the constraints of the foundation gap, the inference gap that you're all stuck with. The data arriving is important, yeah, but that's not the whole story. What you really want to do is you want to be able to build this foundation not just as a point solution, not just as a stitched version of stuff that you have on the network, but something that is purposeful by design. Just saying I have agentic pipelines in my network doesn't make your network smart. Never did, never will. There's a reason why 85–90% of AI experiments do not go beyond the lab, do not go beyond the domain that they're designed for. And that's because they cannot scale. And you have to start with agentic pipelines that actually continuously discover, publish data that is coming from everywhere on your network. This is millions and millions of records per second. We're not talking about BEPD, guys. Billion events per day is passé. That's yesterday's news. We're talking about tens of millions of records per second that you're supposed to be able to bring in, correlate, understand, publish, validate, ratify. And that has to be together with context. You've got to be able to understand you're stitching something together because it has context. If I'm stitching radio and core data, it has context. It defines the kind of network experience and therefore subscriber experience when I have a video or I have a voice or anything else that you want to run on the network. You want your telemetry to not just arrive. You want it to be something that is more important. It has to be something that is enriched and validated as a domain view, right? It has to be business-ready, governed data products that actually are pre-computed, agent-ready, with lineage, with governance, actually all built in. So once you have that level of foundation in place, those kinds of analytics in place, that's when you start driving graphs. You start driving decision-making with agentic pipelines within your network. geospatial context that actually reframes how you understand, what you actually have to do. Now, some of the things that we did, and I've talked generally about challenges that the industry has faced. This is a problem that Ocient has been looking at, not today, but we're looking at it for 10 years now. When we deal with petabyte scale pipelines, you've got to completely reimagine the stack in terms of how you ingest data. You've got to reimagine the stack in terms of how you store petabyte volume data without incurring millions of dollars or billions of dollars in just keeping the data, less just analyzing it or actually driving development into pipelines. This is what Ocient has been doing, 600 patents out of the US, just doing this particular space. And today, what we have been able to do is come up with a price-performance ratio that is far superior to any other data platform or agentic AI platform that you have on the market today, anywhere in the world. And with that, I hope to see you guys a bit later. So thank you.